further to those questions, the European Medicines Agency has already moved its headquarters to Amsterdam. We've lost hundreds of people that had expertise that were based in this country to Holland. Further to that, can you point to any pharmaceutical company, because I've had representations from many and people that work in the field that are very concerned about this, but can you point to any that think that we will be at the front of the queue or even in the middle of the queue if we are no longer part of the EMA? Because I certainly hadn't had any representations from any.
There are actually, I have had exactly those sorts of discussions. They are, I'm afraid, they are commercially confidential in some cases. I can write to you with more details once I loop back on which ones I can be clear about. Now, I'm not saying that that is true across the board, but there's absolutely the opportunity for us to remain at the front of the queue under any of these scenarios.
You all know that connected to this is that there's many research organisations connected to many of our universities that are world leading. We see many drug trials actually initiated in this country, but in particular because of our connection to and association with and membership of the European Medicines Agency. And I've had countless representations from the bodies that represent all of those organisations and individuals that work in the field themselves that say, this is not going to happen. If we're not part of the EMA, we literally will be at the back of the queue. Well, we will not be the instigator in the country that currently leads by example and has so many. Currently, we're number one. We're still just number one. Far closely behind us follows Germany and Holland in terms of drug trials. But can you guarantee to this committee that we will maintain our position as number one across Europe in terms of drug trials?
Well, as my permanent secretary has explained to me, using the word guarantee is not a sensible one. But the reason that I'm optimistic in my tone in this area is that absolutely I recognise the challenges. I recognise the difficulties, both in terms of individuals and in terms of access to market. However, these things are in our gift to get right. And we've got the capability, the research capability, the clinical capability, the scientific capability, and the regulatory capability to have one of the best regulatory systems in the world. In fact, the work that Simon has been doing with the MHRA to speed up the access of very impressive new drugs is the sort of work that we should be doing in whatever Brexit scenario. For instance, the CAR-T cancer treatment, which Simon got onto across the NHS within 10 days of it being licensed, is something that we should applaud NHS England for. It's incredibly impressive work. It demonstrates that if you put your mind to it, you can have a high-quality licensing system with rigorous bars, both for medicines and for medical devices. I mean, for medical devices, there's a question of whether those bars in some cases need to be tougher, and allow for both the rigour but also the speed of access. I think this is a really important area, but it is essentially one that we can deliver in any Brexit scenario.
And I'm sure all members of this committee would welcome this excellent work, as you pointed out, but can you understand that this committee, or members of this committee, lack confidence in what the future holds when, as our chair has pointed out, the actual text of the withdrawal agreement gives us no certainty whatsoever about what these exact arrangements will be?
Well, what all I'd say is we can give certainties in areas where we are willing to unilaterally recognise the decisions of the EMA in order to ensure those drugs can be provided for. But there's work that we can do domestically to make the outcome even better than that. So.
Well,